Good afternoon, everyone. You're now listening to The Common Thread, the official podcast for the Howard Thurman Center. My name is Howard.
My name is Issa Kenyatta.
And I'm Greg Wilson.
And I'm Wendy Jennings.
I'm Jen Tran.
And I'm Jess Hackle.
So on this very snowy, but good Tuesday nonetheless. It is Tuesday, right? Okay, good Tuesday nonetheless. We're going to be talking about, sort of love and dating culture in earlier generations as opposed to our current generation, and just the way that it differs, how things evolved over time, where do we think that love will be in 20 years time, these sort of things. And I'm gonna pass it on over to Issa.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So today the topic is what's love got to do with it, in a sense. And and so I think what's really big in our today's society, of course, is love, but how it's evolved over the years. So we've asked you guys to kind of just give us some brief overview of some of our questions. So one of the things I really want to ask is, how did the courting happen for you guys' relationships? Like, what was that first instance you were like, man, I'm in love with this person? Like, how did that happen?
Maybe not even as detailed as that, but when did you, like you said, how did you meet said significant other?
Okay, I'll go first, I guess. Again, I'm Wendy, and I'm a bit older than you guys, so...
I can't tell.
Yeah. Well, anywho, I met my husband when I was 15. And we've been married almost 26 years.
Wow.
So we have quite a love story. We met through mutual friends, and we dated. And then when I went to college, we broke up for a couple of years, and we dated other people, and we got back, obviously, together, and we're married. So I had known him 10 years when I married him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm Jen. I am a senior in CAS, and I've been dating my boyfriend for 10 months now, and I actually met him during RA training.
No kidding.
Wow.
Right before my junior year, my first year of being an RA.
Wow.
It happened when we were in the dining hall kind of with the other RAs, and he was standing in front of me, and I remember him turning around, and I was like, he's really, really cute. And he saw me, and he was like, I've noticed you, like, I think I know you. And I told him, you don't.
Smooth. I noticed
And
you noticing me.
I guess, like, from then on, I started to drop some hints, and they became, like, more frequent because he's kind of not very quick on the pickup, I guess. And it was not until the April after I met him from that August that he kind of just asked me to dinner, and we kind of just went from there. So it was a while.
Cool.
It was a while, but it worked out.
That's good. So do you think that taking your time is something that, you look back on and you're glad that you did, or do you wish that maybe things would have gone a little quicker? Wendy, this can even apply to you or so on.
Yeah.
Any one of
I took my time, clearly.
Right.
10 years. So.
Wow.
But
Yeah, I mean, I think in retrospect, I don't regret that it didn't go faster, because in that process, we were able to kind of get to know each other and become friends. He got to know my respective friends. I got to know his. So it became kind of comfortable for us to kind of go to that next step. And it was a pretty smooth process.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, obviously I'm not fortunate to be in a relationship like you lucky people. So anybody out there,
he's single.
just so people know. So I think what's so interesting to me is, like, when I see couples on Commonwealth Avenue and they're holding hands and things, how do you guys, like, get that spark going, like, throughout your relationship? I find it always the little things, like you said, the things that take, like, the most time and thought-provoking are the ones that are most memorable. So
I would agree.
Yeah.
I just think the smallest gestures are bigger than, big displays of affection in public. I'm not really into that, but
yeah.
I wouldn't say that when I was your age, we certainly had our share of hand-holding and all that sort of thing. I mean, I'm not opposed to it now, of course, and I find that you get that spark back later, too, when your kids are grown and older, and you end up being together a lot more, and you better like each other.
Right.
Because now it's back to, like, how I felt when we were kind of dating.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice. It went full circle.
Oh, nice.
I have just a question, sort of like piggybacking off of that. I think one thing that sort of people in our generation are concerned about is, like, how do you sustain that spark throughout time, right? So, it's when you first meet somebody, you start dating, you're in love and it's great and so on, but you start hitting 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and obviously you might still feel for the person, but the things that you were doing in that first 6 months, those first 9 months, sort of dwindle as time goes on. So I guess how would you say maybe you and your husband, even though you might have taken that break for those few years, have you all been able to like sustain that spark still for so long, for 20 some odd years?
I would just tell you that the same things don't excite you. It changes. You get excited about your daughter winning her volleyball game, or like it brings you closer. You enjoy watching your children grow and accomplish, and hopefully become successful. And you watch your parents grow old and see they need more from you, and those things bring you closer. It's not what it used to be when we were in our 20s. So your lifestyle changes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Jen, is there anything in your 20s that you have?
Do the
Not
movies
to say I do
and
not
teddy
miss my
bears?
20s.
Yeah,
I have to say that, especially this past Valentine's Day, it was our first Valentine's Day together, and he definitely he blew my expectations out of the water, because we were originally going to go to Anna's Taqueria, get burritos, and then maybe go watch a movie at Coolidge Corner. But then as we were driving, he was like, wait, we're not going to Anna's, we're going to another place I made a reservation at. So really, like, I think especially in these beginning stages of our early relationship, I know that he's trying to make that really good impression, but really what it is like I enjoy his company. I enjoy the times we spend together, like the conversations, and those are kind of the little things that really solidify that, right. And my feelings for him. So it's really nice, and I guess like the other stuff is cherry on the cake or icing on the cake or whatever. Yeah. I don't ask for it, but he kind of just gives it anyway.
Nice. Yeah. Absolutely. I think something that's interesting, though, society always pushes the idea that the more money you spend on your significant other is how much you care about them. You know what I mean?
You should have gone to jail.
Exactly.
If you don't go, then you're a bum.
So I wonder, obviously you guys, some of you look like you're not disagreeing. How would you feel about that statement saying that money equates to love? Because he might take you out to maybe, I don't know, a fine restaurant, or he might just take you out to, I don't know, McDonald's that day. That's a significant difference, but we have to recognize those are differences, right?
This is real.
Either one works for me. It's the company.
Yeah.
For me.
Quality time.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. I love going to really nice restaurants, and if we can afford it, we will. But the kids always came first.
Yeah.
So once we had children, we were committed to that. So there were lots of times when we weren't able to go to really nice places and that sort of thing. But we would wait for the kids to go to bed. We'd put them to, and we'd make dinner for each other.
Yeah.
Or and I would maybe done a baked good that afternoon for dessert to surprise them. Or you make do.
I think it's really interesting too, because when I first started dating my boyfriend, my boss would ask me, oh, did he pay? Or, how did that go down? And for me, like, I guess I've grown up with the mindset that I'm an independent woman, like I can pay for myself. I don't have to rely financially on a guy to court me or do anything like that. So that question was never really something that occurred to me in the process. And then when I was talking to her, I was thinking like, oh, that might have been more common back in the day to have a guy just provide and just to woo you, and I found that really interesting.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. So go back to when people were dating, and not necessarily when they were in the early days of dating, not necessarily in more of a relationship type thing. What types of gestures were the most impressive? Were they the things like, oh, he paid for my drink, he must really like me? Or was it like he sat down for an hour and talked without looking at his cell phone? That's very impressive.
Well, we didn't have cell phones.
Without looking at it.
That's how old I am. Anyway, now that you bring it up, what really always impressed me, we lived probably like 8 or 10 miles away from one another, and when at times he was young, he had just graduated high school when I had met him. He didn't have a car, and he would ride his bike in blizzards. He rode his bike from his town to my town, the blizzard of 78. Wow. And my dad let him sleep on the couch that night. It was a big to-do.
Now, when you say bike, you're talking about like
I'm talking about a two-wheeled bicycle.
Motorcycle.
Rode in a blizzard. No.
I hope you wore a helmet.
But no, we didn't wear helmets in those days. We never wore helmets.
No need.
But my dad actually let him stay that night.
No kidding.
Because there was about, 12 feet of snow.
Yeah.
He said, yes, son, you can sleep on the couch. I think my dad slept on the chair for most of the night. Seriously, Dad, what do you think I'm going to do?
Right. Yeah.
So, I loved that.
Yeah, for me it wasn't like he bought me a drink or bought me a gift or anything. I remember one day, it was during that time when I was trying to drop hints so that he would know that I was interested in him. And I asked him if he would have dinner with me and my brother at Marciano because my brother wanted to go into his major. And he showed up and he had, spreadsheets and flow charts of everything my brother could do. And I would sit there and I went up to get food, and when I came back they were just talking as if they'd known each other for the longest time. So I was thinking that was really nice of him, first of all, to give up his time and to kind of help my brother out, and also to show that he cared so much to bring these documents with him, which is really weird.
Nice. And so you mentioned that you didn't really matter to you whether he, and if I'm wrong, correct me.
Sure.
If he paid or whatever, because that might have been something done more so back in the day as opposed to today, and you were raised to be independent and so on. But you did sort of wait for him to make the first move as well. So would you say that that's something that our generation, or even you, or you just anybody, still looks forward to today, for the guy to be the one to initiate the actual relationship? Or do you think that it's okay for girls to go ahead and do it first? Or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a really interesting point. So I haven't thought about that. And I guess I did wait for him to make the first move because I thought that it would kind of compensate if I dropped hints so that he knew that I was interested. So in that case, it was almost as if I was making smaller moves, so that he can make a bigger move.
Right.
Okay. And that, I guess, it's kind of like an artifact of me knowing that the way my parents started dating, my dad was the one who kind of fought for my mom. Yeah. That might have been something that was in the back of my mind, but definitely that can be the case if you see it that way.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, of course.
So this is sort of going back to the whole idea of maybe if we're if dating now is a series of making moves, as I'm sure it was, that seems pretty timeless to me. Just this idea of, we're sort of playing this game, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm going to say.
Call it.
But regardless of who pays, and I don't know if I would ever pay. I'm not sure if I would. Maybe I would. But either way, whoever pays, regardless of who does it, that solidifies it to me that it's a date in a weird way. I know that I've gone out to dinner with friends who are boys who I didn't think anything of it until they're oh no, I got this. And I'm oh, I didn't know that that's what that was. And I think regardless of what stigmas have changed about dating, that one seems to remain to me, that if you're going to pay for someone, that's a date, versus if you don't. I mean, there still might be other ways, but that is definitely money. Right. Unfortunately, solidifies the date, I think.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, no doubt.
Definitely.
I think, man, no, that's
you
such
can
a great point.
disagree or agree.
I do agree. I do agree because maybe that's just because that's the way it's kind of always been, but that does sort of, it solidifies that is a date instead of two people just hanging out.
Right. It doesn't matter who pays, but if someone offers to pay for someone else, that seems like a date to me.
But see, I think I have issue with, now I'm starting to think about the different roles that are played in a relationship for the man and woman. And, even if it's not a man and woman or a significant other type of relationship, where is that line where it's okay for you to pay for this? Who pays first? Because in my household, it's you said, you pay for the date. It's not
it's a date.
Yeah, I can't, or even I might just be treating my friend though, and we send mixed signals to each other. You know what I mean? So that happens too. And so I wonder, I know you said paying. What other signs would you say are significant of what a date is, or this is a date? This isn't just you and me hanging out,
Right.
Yeah.
A kiss goodnight. That's a date.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know we kiss the
I
friends.
do not kiss my guy friends goodnight.
Right.
Just, I'm gonna put it out there. So,
Rules.
I think that
Yeah.
is also timeless as well.
Boundaries.
No, maybe not, but still.
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Did you
But
have,
I know my son is your age.
Yeah.
And he has a longtime girlfriend, and they pretty much, whoever has the money that week or that night. Like there's no, they just, whoever has it pays.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
really a issue
right,
at all.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that,
I think it's different.
yeah,
Yeah.
with that, you know, I think it's interesting. I definitely would say that 9 times out of 10, when, you know, a guy takes a girl out on a date, if that is indeed the intention for it to be a date, for it to start something maybe long term, or to see, you know, if you all are interested in each other, he will pay. But then again, there have been times where, like, I have like female friends, and, you know, we've gone out and got something to eat, or like just got something upstairs in the GSU, you know, and I paid for it just because, you know, it was
like
like, yeah,
it's a
I felt like,
gentlemanly
right,
thing.
you know, or
I
maybe
see.
like she didn't have it at the time or whatever, and that's not my way of saying this better be something after the
Right,
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Okay.
Absolutely.
But more so just like, you know, I would do the same thing for Greg, I would do the same thing for Issa, and so why not would I be able to do
Just
it for
because it's a female.
right. So I
Right,
think
right,
that
right.
in that regard, like, that's the only way where it can differ some. But if the intention is indeed a date, you know, we talk about these staple things, then yeah, I think paying is one. Kiss goodnight obviously is a big one.
Yeah.
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 All right, so what? I'm interested in what the people have to say about a lot of my girlfriends, not girlfriends, but friends who are girls and girlfriends, say that they don't see dating happen as often. That it's like a dying art form. That like people meet each other at parties and they'll hook
Hooking
up.
up.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, it's just like you've hooked up a bunch of times and now like you hold hands, but you don't sort of see these cordial sort of sequences happen anymore. Now, do you think there are differences in the way that today's generation sort of view love and dating as opposed to yesterday's?
Absolutely.
And what are those
for,
differences?
For instance, I would never, ever, ever do online dating. Like, if my husband up and left me tomorrow, I couldn't do it. I would just be too afraid. So I think it's generational. I think I'm just intimidated by it. I'm scared to meet people like that. Like, I would just have to meet someone through a mutual friend or something. Like, I just would not be able to put myself out there. So, but I know on the other hand, my kids are on Facebook and, you know, all this Twitter and all this social media, and they've met plenty of people this way without fear. So certainly, I would never online date.
So I think it's definitely different from when it was back then, especially with the introduction of online dating, and especially with apps like Tinder. That's the first thing that came up in my mind because
Wait, for everybody who doesn't know what that, because I don't know what that is, could you explain
right. So I don't
For
have
me.
a Tinder, just to let you and whoever's listening know. But basically, it's an app where you have an account and it kind of looks for people in your area who also have a Tinder account. And you kind of go through pictures of everyone who has an account, and if you think they're attractive, you swipe right, and if you think they're not attractive, you swipe left. Now, if the other person who you swiped right also swipes right, then you're able to get in contact with them and talk to them. And I'm not bashing on Tinder or anything. I just wanted to say
No,
that,
It's
but
more of a hookup.
it feels like that.
It is.
It does.
From what my kids have told me.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's become pretty popular, and I think that really like shapes how I view dating today, especially since the media always, you know, bombards us with these different stories about new apps that have come out, and you know, you hear from your friends how they found out their significant others. So it's kind of a mix of everything, and you listen to these stories of, you know, Tinder hookups and apps that kind of cater to that. So I think it's definitely different. Times have changed for sure.
Yeah.
Wendy, I have a quick, like, so, you know, we mentioned hookup culture and whatnot. back when, like you were dating, would you say that like even, your girlfriends or like just people who you knew, whether it was like in high school or college or whatever, was that something that was going on back then? Like,
wow.
as if maybe not
Or was
as
it just
much.
not
It
as
was frowned
prominent?
upon. But
Oh.
there were girls that were doing it.
Right.
But they were always, called certain names.
Right.
And my best friend, actually, the one that passed,
Yeah.
But she loved to meet new guys and
Right.
hook up, shall we say,
Right.
back in the day.
Right.
And she had quite the reputation, but I saw her as a free spirit. And she was running the show. She did what she wanted. She played by her rules.
Right.
And I said I thought she was brave.
Do you look at girls of this generation the same way you looked at your best friend back then?
I just, you know what? I think alcohol and drugs have really come into play. Kids making really poor decisions.
Yeah.
It seems to be a lot more frequent now, and even with my own children, what I've seen of their friends or maybe themselves at some point, not really making good choices because of the introduction of a lot of parties and then the drugs. We didn't have this when I was coming up. I mean, we had our Friday night party after the game and that sort of stuff, but there weren't the drugs that you guys have access to. Not you.
No, right, no.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
talk about drugs.
That's a joke.
Yeah, there was not a heroin or
Right.
oxycodone epidemic in my
Right.
day. It was beer and pot.
I mean, I'd still say there is. There still is, because I don't think, at least around here, there's a lot more intense drugs that people do recreationally. But when you boil it down to it, it's beer and pot at parties that,
Oh, is it?
that
Okay.
start relationships,
Okay.
at least. You
Yeah.
just, for some reason, I think there's this thing nowadays where people can't talk to each other unless they're like
Under the influence.
thoroughly wasted. And that's just when they get the confidence. Because, at BU,
Yeah.
you'll see the same people every day
Yeah.
just because you're scheduled and there's only two places to walk, either east or
That way or
west.
that way.
Yeah, so you'll see the same people all the time, but you won't talk to them unless you see them at a party when you're drunk enough to be like, yo, just say something.
And it's definitely more convenient for you to conveniently forget them the next day if you're not interested while you were drunk or high.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So my question would be that, so what do we give to the advice for the next generation of lovers? Let's say it's like 20 years down the road. What would you give to a newly coming couple? What advice would you give to them as far as what you've learned through your experiences in dating?
I would say listen to your parents, your grandparents, and your peers. We all possess something that would be helpful and useful and wonderful for you to carry on for all of your romances in the future. That all of us have something to offer.
I would say don't jump in too fast. Take the time to notice how that person may treat people around them, like their family, their friends, wait staff even, and kind of just go in cautiously, I guess, but it really is dependent on the person. It really depends.
Get a feel first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
My mother's advice to me was watch how he treats his mom. And if my husband couldn't be nicer to his mom and his sister, so the respect that he has for women. My mom always told, I have two older sisters as well, watch how they treat their mother, that's how they'll treat you. And I really took that advice.
I'm going to say something maybe a little different. And Wendy, it's inspired by what you said about your free-spirited friend who definitely played by her own rules. And I would say play by your own rules, but stick to them and be realistic about what your emotional capacity is versus what rules you set out for yourself. I can think of a girl who, for lack of a better phrase, she sleeps around a lot and she pretends going into these things that she's okay with it and she doesn't expect anything in return. And in reality, she's not being honest with herself and she does expect something in return. But I know other people who don't, and they're totally fine with it. And that's those are their rules. And I would say be realistic about what you expect from people and set that out for
Have
yourself.
your own moral compass.
Exactly.
Don't let other people dictate.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Definitely.
That was great advice.
Oh yeah, look, I'm taking notes. Y'all playing games. So
We were originally trying to do this the Thursday before Valentine's Day, so it would help anybody who needed a Valentine last minute. Unfortunately, Valentine's Day has passed.
Yeah.
So everybody
But
But
take
it's
this,
good advice
listen
just
to this.
in general for
Yes,
dating.
absolutely.
Yeah, because love
Absolutely.
isn't limited to Valentine's Day.
Oh, it's awful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look, that has to be an episode in of itself. Oh my goodness. Can you only show love on February 14th? Like that.
Now,
that has
flowers
to
are not
be-
allowed in my house on February 14th.
No
It's
kidding.
a rule. No flowers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
And has
absolutely.
that always been the case, or just
For
recently?
many years.
Awesome.
Why is that the rule?
Because it became someone else's holiday. When they tell you, oh, you need to give flowers and chocolates and jewelry on this day to prove you love her. And he should be doing that every day.
Right.
Proving he loves me, not giving me flowers and
Right.
gifts.
Yeah,
But,
right.
but yeah.
But flowers and gifts would be nice.
I would never turn it down.
That's awesome.
And I love when later on in life, when my daughter got to be 9 or 10, my husband, if he brought me flowers, he would bring her flowers. Which I thought was a beautiful gesture.
Awesome.
And he tells her not to expect anything less than her daddy in her future husband. And I think he's set a wonderful example. So
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, I'd like to thank the guests one more time. It's a wonderful, informative conversation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And to anybody listening, take this, find somebody, and talk about it some more. Maybe a significant other.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you guys are listening to The Common Thread. I hope everybody makes it home safely in this snowstorm.
Right.
It's like, would you say the 18th snowstorm?
18th.
We're deep in the
30th.
winter. Deep into winter. I'm Greg Wilson,
I'm Issa Kenyatta.
I'm Howard DePass Jr.
and that was The Common Thread.